My name is Dr. Judy Bense. I am the University of West Florida President and Professor Emeritus. I am an archaeologist specializing in Spanish colonial historic archaeology in the West Florida area. Pensacola Bay and the pass to the Gulf is very unusual, geographic and natural feature. It is the only deep water port, naturally deep water port, between New Orleans and Tampa. All the other bays are sanded shut. They are shallow, terrible sandbars in front of them. But the story behind the story of why Pensacola Bay is such a good port really goes back to an era of millions of years ago when sea level was far below where it is today. About 12,000 years ago, when people first came to Pensacola, the sea level was 400 feet lower, and that means that the rivers in our area, the Yellow, the Blackwater, and the Escambia, were cutting very deep valleys into our soft, sandy soils. And if you look at a map, you'll notice that the water from Choctawhatchee Bay, way over at Fort Walton Beach to Destin, up to Niceville, and that whole area, also drains here in Pensacola Bay. So when it rains in Niceville, the water comes out Pensacola Pass. And the long sound that we call it today between Santa Rosa Island and the mainland is carrying that water. So with all of that water from Choctawhatchee Bay, plus the three rivers that we have that cut very deep river valleys, is the beginning of the story of the Port of Pensacola. And the rest of the story is sea level rose, and it rose to where it is today. Now it's gone up and down as the ice ages have had different phases of temperature on the planet. It's been warmer and colder than it is today. Sea level has been higher and lower than it is today. But the real importance is that when water rose up to where it is today, it basically backed up all those rivers. It backed up Santa Rosa Sound, it backed up water into all of the rivers and became what is known as an embayment, and today we call them bays. And so even though it filled up with water and sediment, I mean, it was once, I don't know, 40 or 50 feet deep, maybe 60. Today, naturally, it's only about 25 or 30, the bay system, Pensacola Bay. And the pass itself has so much water coming out of it because of the sources of water that the pass continually is washed out, so it stays deep. And that is sort of the story of how our bay is different. Choctawhatchee Bay, as I just said, is stopped up most of the time. Every once in a while a hurricane will break through around Destin and it'll empty out itself, but most of the time it's sanded shut. I grew up in Panama City, and the bay in Panama City, St. Andrew Bay, and the other bays to the north are all fed by small little rivers that are basically spring-fed creeks. And it is very shallow. If it weren't for the Corps of Engineers, we'd never get a boat in or out anything bigger than a small power boat. But the important point now in terms of why, not only why Pensacola Bay is different, is what did that mean to people? And we're really concerned with the historic period, which is after Europeans came and invaded North America. They came in ships, and those ships have to have a certain amount of water to sail in, or they'll run aground. And they quickly discovered that Pensacola Bay was very accessible by even their largest colonial ships in the 1500s and the 1600s. And so it kind of put the unusual depth of our bay, and also the deepness, not just of the pass, but of the bays themselves, is important to this very day. I mean, why did we have aircraft carriers here? We had aircraft carriers because we didn't have to dredge very much, and they could get in the pass. We've dredged it deeper, but it still is naturally a very deep port and deep bays. So I think that's the most outstanding feature of our bay system that is important to people here today in the Navy, as well as people that live here that are in the boating world.